Hey everyone, Chris Stegall here with MK Partners, joined once again by Matt Kaufman for another round of Q&A with Matt K. Hi there, Matt.
Hi, Chris. Oh,
Thanks
nice
for
banner.
hopping on. Yeah, making a little bit of improvements here as
Yeah,
we go along. I also am going to remember at the top here to remind folks to like and subscribe. Um, if you enjoy these videos or our other videos on Salesforce news, tips, tricks, how-tos, events, um, and all of that, please do like and subscribe. It helps boost us to other people's front pages who also probably are interested in Salesforce and the things that you are. And we do these once a week where we run through unscripted troubleshooting issues and questions from the Salesforce ecosystem. We get those from clients internally, we get them from the Trailhead community, and we get them from viewers like you. So head over to go.mkp.dev/Q&A and you can enter your own questions for us to tackle right here on the program.
yeah. And
And
I just noticed, if for those of you at home that are watching weekly, last week I gave Chris a hard time because the title of the episode was a hint as to what the question was that he was going to ask me. And so I just noticed today that the title in the recording still just says Q108.
yep,
So I don't know what today's question is, and the title in the recording studio does not help me guess it. But what's really nice about these types of videos is you don't need to watch them in order. You can watch them in any order you want because we don't, other than this type of banter where we make fun of stuff, there's no need to watch a previous episode to figure out where we are today. So I have no idea what we're going to talk about today. Those of you watching at home have no idea either, and we're in this together.
Yep, I was going to point that out. I had to make a spreadsheet so that I could encrypt the titles a little bit, but still know which file I was downloading and uploading.
Well, someone at home is saying, why are you using a spreadsheet? And why didn't you do that in Salesforce? So maybe someday we'll do that. We could keep track of all of the questions and whether I got it right or not, and links to the videos on YouTube and things like that. That could be kind of interesting.
That's true. Yeah. The primary reason I'm using a spreadsheet here is because that way you don't have visibility.
Right. Yeah,
I could have just scribbled it on a post-it note on my desk also.
it's true. Yeah.
Today's question, though, comes from Megan in the Trailblazer community. And the question is a question about functions. So let me zoom in here. Or sorry, formulas, not
Yeah.
functions.
Yeah.
We have a scoring calculations formula help. Megan is new to Salesforce in the process of getting familiar with formulas, and the R&D team wants to create an R&D score based off of the volume priority, which is a text-based formula, and the project priority, which is a pick list. When Megan enters it and checks the syntax, they're getting some errors about commas, cleaning it up, still getting some errors. And then they are kind enough to share their formula here. I'm going to have to zoom out again so we can see it.
Oh, wow.
And let's see if I
You know how to pick them.
Yep. This actually, so as somebody who remembers starting out with formula fields in Salesforce, this does look familiar to me
Yeah.
as an approach that I would take where you've Googled how to do an if and an and you
Yeah.
said, well, and now I'll run through it a bunch of times. But I
Right.
figured you probably can look at this and solve both the syntax issue and perhaps find an easier way to do this.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I will need that formula. I probably need the whole URL just so I could read it
Yeah, let
again.
me throw it in the chat
Um,
here.
I actually remember when formulas became a thing in Salesforce, and I am somebody who loves to tinker with Excel, and I know a lot of the formulas and functions in Excel. And for me, um, I used to, and I probably still do today, sometimes even. Try out my formulas in Excel first. Obviously, the syntax might be slightly different, and field names and things like that can differ. But that's often where I will kind of like figure it out and then go into Salesforce to actually do it. Especially if I'm not familiar with the functions being used in the formula. In this case, I'm pretty familiar with if and is pick val, so I think I can handle this without using Excel. But if we need to, I'll open up a Google sheet and test it out.
I guess if I
How
can get
about How about, yeah, okay, so now we're sharing my screen. Perfect. So what I'm going to do to start, so I'm going to need a field called volume priority. I'm going to need a field called project priority. And I just want to make sure I get these right this time because I often make mistakes. So this is a text-based formula and the project priority pick list. Okay, so I'm going to not only need two fields, I need a third field or at least some way to control volume priority's value so that we can adjust it. Okay. I'm going to do this on the account objects just for demonstration purposes because I know that there's an account number field on this object. And so this will allow me to create a formula field that I can control from another field without having to create too much stuff. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a volume priority field. It's going to be a formula. And the formula is going to be a number output with 0 decimal places. And pardon me for jumping back and forth a lot based off the volume priority. Oh, it says it's a text-based formula. It is text. Oh, I already made a mistake. Okay, at least I caught it early. So we'll do text. And I'm going to just say it is going to be equal to the account number field. And then I can populate account number with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 type of thing. And that seems to be working. So great. Next. I need a project priority field, and this is a pick list. Okay, so we're going to go to pick list, and I think the values were just 1 through 5. Okay, and feel free, Chris, to correct me if I do something incorrect that you catch based on the text in the question.
Definitely.
Because I'm only sharing one screen at a time, so it's hard to look at two things at once. Okay. Okay, and then just because we're here, and I might as well take 30 seconds to set things up to make things more efficient later. That's a big concept that I'm a proponent of. If you can get something right up front, you should do it. So I'm going to move these fields a little higher up on the screen, and that way it'll save me a little time when I'm doing my testing. So account number, volume priority, project priority, those are the ones I care about. I don't really care about the rest, but I'm not too worried about them being on the screen. And now I will come to the accounts tab. And let's open up this account. And this is the other thing I probably should do also while we're at it. I'll just spend, again, 30 seconds to set things up. It'll make my life easier. I'm going to adjust my account page, my Lightning page, so that the details tab is the first tab that we go to when we go to the page. And that way I won't have to click every single time. That was something we talked about in a prior video. And I want to get it right this time. Yay. Okay. So I'm going to set this to 1 and set this to 1. And we need another field now that I need to create. This is going to be the field. Did she actually give us the name of what this field is?
Scoring calculations formula help. So we don't have a name, but I suspect it's supposed to be an R&D score. So I would call the field R&D score.
R&D score. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. All right. So we're going to do fields, new formula. Okay. So this is the actual formula field that we're creating. And we're going to R&D score. And the output is a number. So we'll do that. Next. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is just copy this very long formula and paste it in here. And let's see what the syntax says. Okay, extra comma. Okay, so she's correct. There's an error. And let's see if I can find where that extra comma is. I'm guessing it's probably somewhere at the end, right? Because if you look, there's a pattern here, and we see the same pattern over and over. So odds are it's somewhere towards the end, at the very end. I'll just scroll. You guys don't need to see me doing this. And okay, so if this, oh, wait a minute. I see the problem already. This parenthesis here doesn't make sense, and that's all the way through it. So she's saying if volume priority, comma, 1. That's not how if works.
Yeah, it's closed the if already.
Right. Okay, so this, here you see there's actually a typo there too, so it's not even consistent all the way down. Okay, So now I'm going to have to edit this and figure out what we really want it to be. So if volume priority is equal to 1, I think is what it's supposed to say, and is pick val. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be something like that.
I think this is probably something that's more helpful for beginners, but I know it helped me a lot. That the fact that like the functions on the right hand side, if you
Yes.
go to like if and it'll show you like if you've been doing this long enough, like Matt has, you don't need this little helper. But I love that little helper where I can say,
Right.
okay, there, tell me exactly what you're expecting in plain text, and then I can match.
So let's do this. I'm going to actually put it like that at the top, just so we can have it there. And then I think I'm going to do the same with is pick val. I'm going to come here and put that there too. And now I know how these work. I knew how they work, but I'll explain them as well. So if something is true, then do the following, else do the following. That's how this if statement works, this is function. For is pick val, this works only on pick list values. And it's basically saying if this pick list field has this value, then it's true. So if this is the pick list value selected, is how you could say it if you're going to say it like in full English. The other thing you could do is use the text function, which basically takes the value in the pick list, and instead of treating it as a pick list, it just treats it as a string or some text. So you could also say if text and then this pick list equals 1. We could do it that way also. And you can also use values. So we could do like, there's all sorts of stuff we could do if we want to convert a text to string, stuff like that. So there's a bunch of things we can use to make this better. But in the short term, I think this is essentially the nature of the function that should have been done. And what I'm going to do, just to kind of test out this theory, is simplify it to say something like this, right? So if the volume of priority equals 1 and the is pick val of this field is 1, put the number 100, otherwise put 0. I'm not sure those comments are going to work, but let's see. It's throwing an error on the comments. Okay, so let's take those comments out and try that one more time. Did that work? Yeah, okay, perfect. And now let's hit next. And next again, and save. And I will edit the page layout again just to be good. And we'll edit this and put that field right underneath the other field. Here it is, R&D score. It's that right there. And then just because I am feeling like it today, I'm going to move some stuff out of here just to make it easier to see what's going on. Whoop. Because I've got a lot of junk in here. All right. And I think rating doesn't need to be there either. Okay, great. And now we'll come back to our account and refresh. And it should be 100. Perfect. And if we take something away like this, now it's empty. Okay, so the structure for the formula definitely is the right structure. Let's come back here and see if we can now, oh, where did it go? Here it is. Let's come back to that R&D score, and we'll edit it one more time. And let's see if we can fix it. Still had it all here. So then it says if it's, so we need a comma. And now this needs to be equals instead of comma also. Now, when I have to make changes like this, that's very repetitive. What I like to do is actually use VS Code. And what I typically will do is actually pull up vscode.dev, which is a cloud-based instance of VS Code. It's just a text editor, essentially. And I can come here and grab this formula and paste it in here. I'll zoom in just so those at home can see. And I can start doing like bulk changes. So for instance, I could take this and look at all those instances and then all at once delete stuff and fix stuff. And so this is a way that, there's more efficient ways of doing it, but I'm just saying that this is a way to do it. So for instance, here we have this, right? I can, ooh, I gotta be careful there. Let me do it this way. I can grab these and delete that, and then come here and do that. And so, oh, I gotta put the equals. So I'll typically do stuff like this. And if you use a regex, or if you were a little better at using this tool, you can probably do it even more efficiently. But I will try to get this fixed as quickly as I can. Let's do it this way. So we're going to get rid of that. We're going to put equals and then get rid of those spaces, or parentheses, sorry. And then let's go ahead and get rid of all of the spacing. And we almost have it. So yeah, regex would have been better, because then we could actually avoid having to hard code the number while I'm doing my search, but that's okay. There weren't that many. Okay. So let's see, does this pattern match up? I'm going to go ahead and just get this to line up too. It'll be a little easier to read and spot any problems if they line up more consistently. So it's lining up. We want to take away the 0 there. Okay. And then this is the final else here. And then what's really cool about VS Code and other tools similar to it is you can see that it's got some color coding here on these parentheses. And so this yellow here is going to be closed by a yellow parentheses as well. And then this pink is closed by a pink, and so on and so forth. It's hard to see across all these lines, but essentially what we're seeing is that one is the first, yellow is the first, pink is the second, but then pink is closed here. So then this pink, this second one is pink also. And so what this is showing me at the end, this red here, is the problem. There should not be a red there. So I'm going to delete that, copy this, and come back here, and then I'm going to paste it in here, and let's see if that does it. Whoa, that worked. Okay, cool. It was like 50-50. I was not entirely sure that was going to work. Okay, so I'm going to save this. We're going to come here and let's actually refresh, because now we should have a number in there. Okay, so 113. And if we look at, I'm just going to come here because it's easier.
Yeah, I can check on my screen too while you type in numbers.
Yeah, that's true. Wait a minute. 113. What am I saying here?
It's 13.
It's just 1, right? It's just volume per. We can ignore account number. So it's 1 and 3. So 1 and 3 is 92. 1 and 3 is 92. Okay, Chris, why don't you give me some numbers and I'll put them in here.
All right. 2 and 4.
2 and 4, good. And then go ahead and oops, tell everyone at home what it should be, and then I'll hit save.
68.
Yeah, okay, that works. Give me another one.
Nice. 3 and 5.
Okay, 3 and 5.
44.
Okay, so this
Nice.
is very confident that this is working, right? And this is the solution to this person's question. They're welcome to do it this way. It will work. And we could stop recording now.
But we won't.
Well, we won't, because
will you Slack that to me real quickly so I can post it to them?
Yeah, that's a good idea. You probably have this posted before we're even done recording. So I think this is a very long formula. I don't like very long formulas. We should be able to do this better. So let's see what I can do to do it better. So if we look over here, we see volume priority equals 1, and we see it over and over and over. So right away, that doesn't make sense. Like, we don't necessarily need to do it that way. We could do a nested if statement. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this one up just so we have it. But what if we did something like this? So if volume priority equals 1, and then we did, let's see. So, and what if we did case? We could do the case. I think this will work. And the case function will basically allow us to specify a couple different cases and their values. And so then we would do something like this. And you just keep going, basically. And so I could do 2 and 96 and 3 and 92. and so on and so forth. And this one's a weird one because I think that there's an equal number of ones in this field as there are in the project priority field. And so really you could do this from either perspective. You could say, well, start with the volume priority, but you could just as easily start with project priority. I'm assuming that these numbers are in this order because it means something from a business perspective to this person. And so that's probably why they did it in this order. But you could just as easily do something like that. And so then we could do this. And I'm going to clean it up a little, but the idea here is, so this would be 1, this would be 2, this would be 3, 4, and 5. And then this would be the same, but these numbers change. So now we're going to say 80. And actually, now that I'm looking at this, I wonder if there's a pattern. I think there is. But I'll continue down this path just so that we can see if this will work. But I definitely see a pattern here. You can see it's like 20 apart, right? 84 to 64.
Yeah.
My guess is then, definitely a pattern. 40, 20. Yeah, and so now I actually know it. So it's 56, 36, 16, and then it's going to be 52, 32, and 12. And 48, 28, and 8, and then 44, 24, and 4. Okay. Now my parentheses are definitely off. Something weird's going on here. So let's see if I can figure out. So if volume priority. Oh, yeah, that's a little tricky. If volume priority. So instead of the and here, it should become a case. And now this pink is closed, and then we come back to this. So if volume priority 2. So this is the if is here. If is this part here. This is the then. So then use the case field, and then this becomes the else on the next line. So then else, if the volume priority is 2, use this case. Else, if the volume priority equals 3, use this case. Okay, else, and else. And then at the end, we just need to make sure that we have this extra 0 and a certain number of parentheses. Now, I don't know how many, but at some point I'll get a red, and then that's too far. And so I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to copy it. And okay, now I'm a little nervous because I do not know if this is going to work. But let's check the syntax and at least see if it's compiling. Yeah, okay, that's working.
The only thing I noticed there
Yeah.
is on the question, we wanted to return null if we didn't match any of those. And I think we're
Okay.
returning 0.
Okay, yeah. Good catch, good catch. There's actually something else that I just noticed that we probably should actually take into consideration when we are creating formulas. So what I'm going to do is copy this just so I have it. I'm going to check the syntax. I'm going to paste it back here, and I'm going to make a little note. That note is going to say that this is 2309 characters. And I'm just curious always, because there is a limit to how many characters you can have in your formula fields. And if your formula field references another formula field, that can be a problem too, because then it starts to add up pretty quickly. Now I'm curious, what was this one? This one was larger. Okay, so it's good. So I definitely made it more efficient. So that's great. I'm all about efficiency. So we're going to come here and just keep track of this. And then if I do another iteration, I think I'm going to, I want to see how few characters I can get this to compile to. So I'm going to do a quick save. Now we're going to test this out again because I may have made a mistake here. So it was 44. I'm going to refresh and hopefully it's still 44. Okay, good. Give me some numbers and we'll see what happens.
All right. 2, 2. Should be 76.
Is 76. Okay, great. Let's do one more.
All right. 5, 5 should be 4.
Okay, awesome. So it's working. Okay, very cool. Okay, so I saw the pattern. I definitely see the pattern. We're doing math, right? So it's not just a string formula that we're doing here. We're actually doing math. And there's this pattern going down. You'll notice it goes down by 20 for every volume priority, right? So when volume priority is 1, we're not going down. We're going down by 20 times 0. When volume priority is 2, we're going down by 20 times 1, and so on and so forth. And then each of these going across in project priority, those are worth 4, right? So when project priority is 1, it's 4 times 0. When project priority is 2, it's 4 times 1, so we get 96, and so on and so forth. And so I think we can do this a different way. I think we can actually say something like this, where we say volume priority minus 1, and then
You
multiply
said
that.
volume priority, but you typed project priority.
And so I should have said, you're right, thank you. I should have said project priority. So these were with 40, right?
Yeah.
And then volume priority, let's do this, minus 1 times 20. And it's going to be 100 minus this plus this. Oop. Something like that. And I'm going to put in a bunch of parentheses here because I was not paying attention to my parentheses very well. In fact, let me do it a little better. I'm going to move this one down here. We'll say that. So just to keep track of stuff. So I want this whole thing. I'm always a little concerned about order of operations, like that. Okay, so it's this thing plus this thing being subtracted from 100. I think that's actually it. Let's go ahead and come back to my field, and we'll try this out. This one I'm much more nervous about. I'm like, oh, I did something clever here. And
is that value function, does that translate the text number into a number value so that it can do math with it?
Yes. And so like I mentioned earlier, pick lists can be evaluated 2 ways. One is the pick val field. The other is the text field. So I need a text there because it can't convert a pick list value to a value, but it can convert text to a value. And text can convert a pick list value to a string. And so that's what I needed there right now. And I think this will compile now. Oh, maybe not. Expected number. What is a pick list? Oh, wait, one of these is not a pick list.
Only
One
one's
of
a
these.
pick list, yeah.
Which one was the pick list, the volume or the priority?
The pick list is project priority.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So
yeah.
Volume is text already.
Okay, let's try that one more time. Okay, that time it compiled. Oh, look at that, 292
Whoa.
characters. That's nothing. If only I got paid by the number of characters that I can save, right?
That's 10% the characters almost.
Yeah. But I don't know if it works. There's this too. Okay, so 5 and 5 is 4, and 5 and 5 is not even close. Okay, so something's wrong. Let's try to figure out what it is. So it may be that we're doing multiplication before subtraction, right? It could be something like that. So I'm going to put in some extra parentheses there. And let me put in the text there that we had. Yeah, actually here I did have the parentheses. Let me try this one real quick. Yeah. This is where doing it in Excel might actually be a little more efficient because we don't have to wait for the page to load and stuff. Okay, it's 4. Look at that. Okay, so give me some new numbers. Let's test it out.
3 and 2.
3
produce
and
56.
2. 56.
Perfect. 1 and 4 should give us 88.
88. All right, so I think this is working. So let's get this page to load, and we'll see how many characters I ended up with at the end. It ended up being 298 characters. I'm just curious if I condense this. I don't think this actually matters. I think spaces are trimmed out anyway, but I just want to see, does that make a difference? No, yeah, it doesn't. Okay, so you might as well make it readable, is what that's showing, because you're not getting any benefit by trying to condense it. But yeah, so we went from this formula, which was 25 lines, down to this one, which was 5, down to this one, which is essentially 1. And it definitely is math based. I feel like the first one and even the second one are really just string formulas. We're saying if you see this number, if you see the string, which happens to be a number, then go ahead and show this other thing. Whereas this down here is really, it's a math-based formula. And when I think of formulas that is like, especially like a score, I want it to be objective. I want it to be logical, and I want it to be math-based and not just, words on the screen. So I like this. And assuming that, it's not like logarithmic or something that is a lot harder, if it's always going to be just this point-based system, we could change this in the future if we needed to, where, this could be 18, this could be 3, we could add additional fields in there and things like that. So I like this one a lot.
Yeah. Will you send both of those to me as well?
Yeah, of
Please?
course. Yeah. I'll
Oh
just
yeah, send the whole
copy.
thing, because then
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know if this will actually pass through on Slack, but Slack should allow that much text, so I think we're good. So yeah, there we go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
From 3,700 characters to 298.
Yeah. I don't know if you could do it much less than that. I'm trying to think, is there any other way? I mean, you could rename the fields. This would be interesting. If we rename the fields to be just V and just P _ C, like, would that work? But
and I think that you are starting to illustrate the risk of using the fewest lines of code as a metric for effectiveness, because eventually you sacrifice readability and understandability, and it's like, yeah, I got it down to 2 lines. It's complete gibberish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, ideally you won't do that. I mean, I think there's other things that could probably improve here. So for instance, ideally this field would be a number field, right? This formula field. For whatever reason, it's text. Maybe that's because of sorting or something. I don't know. But if it was a number field, that would at least make it a little simpler to read. I wrote this, so I already am biased, right? I'm not going to see this with the same fresh eyes that someone watching at home or you might see it with. And so when I look at it, I'm like, oh, I see what's happening. But it is a little odd, that if looking at this, like, wait a minute, text and then value, right? You're not going to necessarily know this is a pick list when you first open up this formula. And so, the one nice thing about having is pick val, even though it might make it a longer formula, is that, okay, we understand now it's a pick list, so I'm not going to do certain things with it because I understand it's a pick list. So yeah, I agree. We shouldn't measure based on the simplicity of the formula. It should be based on other factors.
Yeah. And I would say the lengthy one looks the most understandable to like a lay person in terms of our understanding of the English language. I know what if means. I know what the ampersand means. Then the second one has case, and it's like, I might not be familiar with the case function. And then the third one is math.
Yeah, totally. I agree with you. Like, the first one is just the easiest to understand. Actually, and I didn't talk about this, but you can also do and with a function.
That's right. Yeah.
You don't have to use ampersand. Behind the scenes, it's the same, so it doesn't really matter. But we could do something like that if we wanted to, right there. And I'm assuming it'll compile to the same amount of text. But for some people, that might be easier to understand, even because this ampersand definitely is more of a code syntax than the word and.
Yeah.
So, and you're
moving an and in front of the two things you're conjoining is a little bit less like our natural language structure.
In English, at least, but you're probably more likely to have a typo where you accidentally put 1 ampersand instead of 2, right? If you use ampersands. So having the word and all caps also definitely shows me, okay, this is part of the formula and not a typo or not a word that's a field name or something like that, right? So there's that benefit to doing it that way. Ideally, I think, at any individual organization that uses Salesforce, they would come up with some type of style guide where they say, look, we always use and, or we always use ampersands and not mix and match. And that even stuff like this, we always use pick val versus we always use texts.
Right.
With an equals or something like that. Like, even that is probably a good idea. And that way, if anyone ever needs to create a new formula or edit an existing one, it'll just be that much easier to understand than mixing and matching all over the place.
Yeah. And there are some things you can do stylistically where if you go with that preceding and, like I'm a big fan of this kind of
Hmm.
indentation to
Yeah.
make it a little bit more readable, where I know I'm doing an if and then an and then a not, and I'm comparing all of these. And then as you build that out, you end up with
Yeah.
something that's a little bit more trackable with the eye than,
Yeah, I probably should have indented on the first two. The first one, it would have been really hard to indent, right? Because we
yeah.
would have been indenting a lot. But on the second one, it would have been easier, right? I can indent just a little. I typically do 2 and not 4, but we could do something like that. And then with the closing parentheses, we would do the same. And so that it's really nice when those colors line up, and so that makes it really easy. Oops, sorry. To kind of see, okay, yes, I didn't make a mistake with an extra comma or an extra parentheses when it lines up perfectly like that with the colors. It almost makes sense to do that, doesn't it?
Yeah, the color coding on that is awesome.
Yeah, so that's a built-in feature now to VS Code, and I'm sure it's available in other IDs too. See if I can do it. There we go. And so now it really lines up and it's easy. I should probably set my spaces to 2, and that'll make it easier. Yeah, because my guess is if the original poster had, done it in VS Code or somewhere else, it would have probably shown that issue with the extra comma and some of the other typos that we saw, and then that would have solved the problem up front, at least for the syntax problem. I don't think the formula would have worked the way it was written originally, but they would have been on a faster pace to solving it if they had used a tool like this. So I always recommend take advantage of all the tools in your tool belt, not just do stuff in Salesforce. So like I said, I usually will use Google Sheets or Excel and try to perfect it there, or figure out how to use various things there. And then I jump to Salesforce to actually write the real one.
Yeah. And the guessing and checking process there, not guessing and checking, but we'd finished it, cleared syntax, and then going back to the page and I'm telling you values to enter and we're trying to match them.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me realize we're curious if there ever has been a function in the formula builder. Like it would be super helpful if, as you added fields, if there was some way for, like on this screen, to
Mm-hmm.
say, oh, put a sample value in for that field and show me what the output would be.
That is a great idea. We have some of the functionality in Flow where we can test or debug. I would love that functionality right here.
Yeah.
There's so much space too. Look at the
Yeah.
space right here. The ability to say, here are all the fields being referenced and here are the values. It definitely is doable from a technical perspective. I don't know how high a priority it would be for Salesforce, but I don't think it'd be that difficult even. So it's a great idea. I know we could probably build a Chrome extension that would do that. Worst comes to worst, that would basically, when you're on a page like this, show some inputs here and then parse this formula and do it. That would be doable too if Salesforce doesn't have the priority to do it. But I love that idea. We should log it on ideas.salesforce.com.
Yeah. And if you're watching this and you agree, you should vote for it. So
Yeah.
if these were the kind of videos that I would go back and edit, I would add that to the screen right here
Right.
and say, I already did it. Here's where to vote. But I'll try to add it to the
Yeah.
description of this video. So please, if you're watching this after the fact, do check that out and vote it up on the Idea Exchange.
Yeah. And I think if we vote for it, people can see our public profile and see what we voted for too.
That's true.
So you could look at other ideas that we voted for and maybe you agree on those also.
Yep. All right. Well, I think we went above and beyond, Matt, or you went above and beyond, and I watched. We answered this question 3 times in 3 different ways.
Yeah.
And so I will go ahead and share those over with Megan. And yeah, I think we can call it. I want to remind folks, if you have your own questions, to please submit them at go.mkp.dev/Q&A. The and is the ampersand there.
Right.
Also, please be sure to like and subscribe to these videos here. And we will be back again next week with another unrehearsed, unedited look at a troubleshooting scenario from somewhere along the Salesforce ecosystem here. So thank you, Matt, once again for all of your help, and thanks everyone for watching.
Thank you.
Bye.